Zappie Communications is predominantly a telecoms company. We've set a target for the team to hit 2 million. We passed 1.5 about 3 weeks ago.
In any circumstances, sales is so useful. Like, we speak about marketing. Marketing is a big area that anyone can go.
Do you know what I've heard about ADHD though? Like, it is obviously really hard to focus from ADHD. However, when you do find something you're passionate about, you can actually high perform it.
So you a net.
We're not going to say what the net's for, but you just got to sell us a net.
Oh my god! Put me on the spot now.
Welcome to You Know What, the podcast for you that dispels the myths and BS in the fitness industry whilst leveling up your A game in everyday life. We are your hosts, Nick Finch and Dan King.
Today we have the lovely Michael Connolly. How are we doing today?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
That's right. It's a pleasure as always.
100%. What's your random fact, man? What have you got?
I am a little bit of a long distance junkie. So I've done a 100-kilometre ultra marathon this year, believe it or not, for the size of me. I've done a London to Paris bike ride and a marathon. And I believe you're going to ask me a little bit about the charity stuff later. So I'll talk to you about the next event for April next year.
Nice, mate. So how tall are you?
6'4".
Same. And you're a long distance junkie?
Yes.
Same. How much do you weigh?
At the moment, I'm about 106 kilos, but I'll trim right down. I've just done a charity boxing match, which I dropped down a bit of weight for, but I've now piled on about half a stone in the last 2 weeks.
Why do I sound like we've got the same body and the same life? What's going on? I had a charity boxing match this year as well.
You're leaner than me.
I'm just a short one here today, which makes no sense. I tell you what, someone said this the other day. Someone was like, Dan, you're a lot taller than I thought you'd be. I was like, why is that? I was like, because you're always stood next to Nick. I'm like, yeah, he's 6'4", I'm 6'1", that's why. So I look so short, and everyone's like, oh my god, you're so tall. I'm like,
man,
6 foot plus.
This is why every time I'm with a photo that's actually like, say for example, Adam, who's like really built, right, but he's a bit shorter. Well, on his photos, he looks so like in proportion. But when I'm standing next to him, I look fucking skinny as fuck, man. I'm so stretched out. Oh my god, man.
He's a little bowling ball, that's why.
Yeah.
I actually want to talk about the little London to Paris thing as well. So you did was it an ultra marathon or was it just cycling from London to Paris? I say just.
There was two separate events. Okay. So it was May this year. Jamie and I said, right, let's do something big for the charity. So we were trawling through what was available, and the closest thing that we could see, which was and had roughly enough time to train, was a 100-kilometre over 2 weekends. We didn't run it, we walked it. And luckily, because Jamie and me were both big lads and we put on a lot of weight since starting the business at that point, because it was just 100% focus on work. So that was the first event. Tough, probably wouldn't do it again. I've ticked that box now.
How long did it take?
The first event took forever. The first stage was about 58 kilometres on the first leg. So we set off at 9 a.m. and I ended up finishing about 1 a.m.
Oh my god.
Jamie got real bad blisters. I didn't want to leave him behind, so I just trudged along with him. I ended up getting bad blisters on the second day as well, so it was just an experience.
It's such a shame we haven't got Jamie on today, but he will come on. Don't worry guys, he will come back on. That's insane. So you said there's 2 parts. So you got another part coming up?
No, sorry, that was the part 2 was on the Sunday. Okay. So that was 42 kilometres.
That's crazy.
So we literally went home, slept for 4 hours, and then we're straight back into Weymouth for stage 2. My mum lives in Bridport, luckily, so she picked us up after the event in Weymouth, went back to Bridport, slept, made us a massive breakfast, drove us back, and then we cracked on for day 2.
Well, much respect, because a lot of people, when I tell them that walking is an easy form of exercise, it is until you do 40 kilometres of it. Yeah. And every little thing that you can't imagine can go wrong. Yeah. Blisters in the feet, chafe between the legs.
Yes.
If you're carrying a rucksack, obviously your neck and your back starts to get painful.
It's also like navigating. We were on the cliffs by Durdledore, and I was navigating through that about 10 o'clock at night. So trying to go on the thinnest edge of pathway on the edge of a cliff with just a head torch on, that was an experience in itself. I wouldn't recommend doing it. I'd probably walk a bit faster to get that done in the daylight if I was going to do it
jogging it and be like, I'm done with this bit, just kind of sprint down the actual Durdledore area. I'd be like, just swim it. You could just get in the sea and swim it.
Yeah.
That would be my preference.
That's cool. That's
awesome. I think it's amazing. Now, again, Mike, we've known each other for a very long time now. Again, we've probably known each other nearly 3 years now. And fun fact from my side of things, Mike was my first PT client.
I was,
yes. It was my first ever PT client back in the day. So we wanted to kind of talk about your background, and you've had a very successful year in business, I'm going to say. again, very happy to have you on. So you run a company called Zappie, am I right in saying?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about Zappie and kind of like what brought you about to bring Zappie, well, where it is now?
Absolutely. So Zappie Communications is predominantly a telecoms company. So we provide business phone systems to predominantly now at the SME market. So 1 to sort of 50 users is our bread and butter. At the moment, we are going to start verging into mid-market and enterprise as we progress as a business. In addition to that, we do business mobile, CCTV, IT services, SMS services for marketing. That's pretty much the predominant core product offering that we have.
I mean, for me,
Awesome.
there's a lot of words in there that I didn't understand, if I'm totally honest. But I love the growth of the business. As I say, I've known you for a while and kind of known a bit of your background going into business as well. Now, you hit a big number this year within business, didn't you?
Massive
you hit
number,
a big 1 million. Was it earnings? Like
No, not personal earnings, I wish. No, so 1 million. We hit 1 million turnover quite a few months back now. It's the end of our financial year, the end of next week, so the end of November. And
So you could have more?
Yeah, we've set a target for the team to hit 2 million. We passed 1.5 about 3 weeks ago, so we've got a long way to go. But
Yeah.
Touch wood, we can get there, but it's going to be touch and go.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, me and Nick, that's where we're growing. That's where we'll be, hopefully, next year, just saying. But no.
Manifest it, man. Put it on that wall.
Probably about, well, when was it? So the first 6 months in the business, we'd only turned over 500,000 between Jamie, me, and a few others. Then we were at a stage where we had some capital to grow, which we did. We hired very well. And that's just skyrocketed the business.
So, I mean, over the course of the year, I've seen, obviously, you started off in what looked like no window kind of like room with like maybe 8 desks or something. And then like, you changed 2 or 3 times over the course of the year as well? You got
Correct, bigger? Yes. We started off in Jamie's dining room at his place in Derrydene Court in Totton. We started off there in November, just literally cold calling out of his dining room and also planning the business in the evenings. It was just a slog between both of us.
Man.
Then we toyed with the idea of going straight to Manchester, because that will happen at the end of next year, to open an office there. We were going to set up there and then come back down and set up in Southampton. So we actually had our first Christmas party in Manchester. We went up there the night before, and we were like, let's just book some meetings up there and see if we can sell them. I went out, I sold a couple of sold to a couple of garages up there. Then we went out and celebrated, had the Christmas party, looked at some offices, come back down, had Christmas down here, and then decided that we would set up our base in Southampton first, which I think was definitely the wise thing to do. Then we moved into our first office around February time, in Headspace, which has been fantastic, near Bedford Place. Had that office for 2-3 months, which was a 6-person office, outgrew that, got into a 10-person office by about May this year, which we outgrew pretty much within a few months. So we've now got a second office opposite in the building, opposite, called Clockwise, which seats 8 people. So we've got 10 in Headspace, 8 in Clockwise, and we've outgrown that again. So we're
oh my god. So what happens when it outgoes again? Like, what's the plan to come at like Ocean Village, have like a big office here?
Do you know what? We actually looked the other day at some offices over the back, but they're not big enough for the growth that we have for next year. So we've literally just signed off a 60-person office for January that we should move in.
Bloody hell!
My word!
From a dining table.
Yeah.
To that down.
It sounds very Jeffrey Bezos, doesn't it? Very like starting in his, was it garage Jeffrey Bezos started with?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, funny enough, we actually started on our couch.
We did.
On my
we started
couch.
on Nick's.
Oh, really?
Hold on. That sounds very odd when you just take that out of context.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
We started our podcast on the couch.
To be honest with you, at the time, I thought, like, probably you thought the same in the dining room. I thought it was a banging setup.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I was like, damn.
It was awful.
It could have gone down another angle, though, right?
Let's not go into that.
Only Dan's was the backup.
Only Dan's was, Only Dan's was something in there.
Apparently, feet pictures, you make a lot of money these days. So
what can I say? I think I'd still on Only Dance or OnlyFans. I'm just saying. I've got that outlet. Someone did say to me as well when I was in Pure Gym, they were like, why haven't you started on OnlyFans? I was like, there's many reasons I haven't started on OnlyFans. One of them, I'm a business professional, and I don't think OnlyFans really sends me down like the right tone to people go into offices and businesses and be like, oh hey, would you like personal training? I saw you last week on my phone.
Mate, this is where the feet is an untapped potential, because they never know it's you.
Exactly.
They
And
definitely
Who
know
knows
it's
other
me.
people's feet, mate? You know what I mean?
there's a market for cougars as well, mate. They'll be all over you.
Let's not go into that part of the podcast, shall we? That's where the whole viewership is going to go from 90% men to 90% women in the space of 5 seconds.
Hey, mate, he's made $1 million a year, man. Take his advice.
Yeah,
you know,
it's true. Yeah,
you could be the next.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
So we've spoken about your background with Zappie and kind of everything you did there. Now, to get to that point in time, you've obviously got to put a lot of work in. For you, in terms of kind of strategies that you use to get yourself to a position to make the money you've made now and continuously outgrowing, what kind of strategies do you have on the daily to help keep yourself focused and keep productivity nice and high between your team?
So Jamie has been massively influential in all of the processes that we built as a business. From a sales standpoint, that's my background. That was not an issue because the sales process has always been black and white for me from when I started my career. It's been ingrained. So we implemented those pretty quickly, and that's what got the business to where it needed to be. But from a back end sort of support and implementation for all of the products that we sell, those sort of processes were built by Jamie and really streamlined because we're running super lean as a company. We definitely need some more staff from what we have right now. So following a process from start to finish is absolutely fundamentally crucial to be able to make sure you make a success of whatever customer you bring on board.
Mate.
I mean, I honestly, I'm mesmerised when you're speaking about this as well, because it's fascinating when you say, like, starting from the story of sitting on someone's dining room table to get to where you are now and everything that goes into it. I mean, me and Nick we're still on our own little journey at the minute with everything in business-wise. As I said, you were my first client, so you had the bread and butter of me coming into the PT industry. And you know what, at that point in time, I thought it was a great PT. Crikey, mate, if you see me now, I'm top 5 in Southampton now, mate, ladies and gentlemen.
I know, mate. He's about to say, you want one session a week then, what about 5 today?
What about 5 today?
Well, maybe we'll have a chat. But there you go. That's a perfect point to touch on then. So you created a process for me to follow so I could get fitter. And I followed that and I lost weight. I stopped following the process and I put on weight. It's funny that, isn't it? And that's exactly the same in business. If you have processes and a roadmap to follow, as long as you stick to that roadmap, you're going to get there. But the moment you veer off it is the moment everything goes to shit.
So this actually comes to the topic because obviously we want to hear about you and how you've made the business successful. But obviously it takes focus to make a business successful. Now, not everyone has like elite focus, that's fine, but you just need a basic level to actually see anything progress. So did you find that when you were training with Dan, you were doing PT stuff, losing weight, etc., did you find that improved your levels of focus and energy at all?
Fitness for me is crucial to maintain focus. The moment I stop training, the moment I don't have an event to train for, is the moment everything just goes to the wayside. 100%. This is why every year pretty much I'll do one event, whether that be half marathon or a 10k or a boxing match or London to Paris bike ride, a marathon. Next year we've already booked on to Paris Marathon in April. It's me, Jamie and a few others in the team. We're going to go over there and do that. And I'm already eyeing up something for the end of the year, because otherwise if I step off the gas then I'll become lazy.
I can't agree so much more. I mean, Dan, obviously, like I said to you, I was a bit lost with my fitness goal at the beginning of the year, and then the boxing match idea came up and I was like, right, I'm going to do it. Since doing that, it gave me like purpose again. And once you got your fitness in check, suddenly you've got a little bit more focus put everywhere else. Like you feel motivated. If you're motivated in one thing, you're motivated in everything. Like it's weird, but if you don't have a goal or purpose or anything to do every day, you suddenly like start losing track of what you should be doing. It's all chaotic.
It's even like just having a goal, right? If you have a goal in fitness, it's very easy to follow. If you have I want to run a marathon, right? So I've got to do a 16-week training program. I need to run 4 times a week, have these recovery days and do this on that day and that on that day. Follow that, you'll get there. You'll get the time that you want. At the moment, you don't have a plan for your life, i.e. I want to get to 50 clients a month by January or February next year. If you don't have that plan and that goal in mind, you're going to then not be motivated in what you do. And I found that massively across all of my other sort of roles and different careers that I've had. Without having anything in place for me to aim for is then knocked me back.
So this is interesting. So like I understand like having a goal in numbers is really useful because it gives you something to aim for. But what happens if you miss that number? Like what do you do with the feeling of I failed my goal?
It's It's one of these where we've got the philosophy where if we shoot for the stars, if we land on the moon, we've still made massive progress. And if you have that in life, like no one in life is set out and hit 100% of their goals. But if you don't have a milestone to hit, then you're not going to be on the right trajectory. Now, I always say to people, like if I said to you right now, I'm going to take your mobile phone off you, I'm going to not allow you to have any maps, but I want you to now navigate from here to Paris. You've got no other way of doing it. How are you going to manage it? You might get there eventually, but it's going to take you forever. But if you've got a plan on how to get there, step by step, you're going to execute it, right? It's exactly the same in business or in fitness.
I know, I completely agree with you there. Actually, the shooting for the stars, landing on the moon quote resonated with me hugely, because I was told by one of my old barbers back in the day, who owned his own, it's probably one of the biggest barbering companies around the Cambridgeshire area when I was younger. And this is when I was doing my GCSEs, and he turned around to me and he was like, you know, you're going to do very well in GCSEs. And I was shitting myself, as you do when you do your GCSEs at that point in time. I was like, I'm going to fail everything, I have to redo it all. But he turned around to me and told me this story about a young lad who was a stockbroker at the age of 23, which is crazy to think that. Like, it's a crazy goal. And he was working in Wall Street at the age of 23. Like, he's a very good guy. But he said one of his mantras was like the same thing. He shot for the stars, and then if he landed on the moon, it's not a bad thing. So he turned around to me and went, well, why don't you aim for A stars? Why are you aiming for A's? Like, aim for A stars, because then if you get an A, it's still as good, and you're going to get it anyway. So it is that kind of mantra of keeping that target nice and high, because no matter what you fall below it, it's still amazing. It may not be this big escalate, but you still hit that target. And it's the same across the board. Fitness goals as well. Like, I've said to some of my clients, like, we're going to have this weight target, and it's going to be quite an extreme weight target, but it really hyper focuses you on that weight target or the fat loss target or a muscle gain target. But then if you drop below that, you're still happy. You still have made amazing results and seen the kind of performance benefits across the board, increased focus, increased productivity, reducing stress, amazing sleep. That's what you look for, isn't it?
It's got to be it's got to be tough but achievable. And it needs to be broken down, because like an annual target for anyone is just too much to focus on, right? So if you can break it down into quarters, then to months, then to weeks, into days, everything's just so simple.
An interesting thing, obviously, like with the success, obviously, this year for you, is you might have a year goal, but that year goal could actually be 10 times more than you're going to get in the first 3 months, if that makes sense. So it compounds up.
Correct, yeah, exactly that. So we were only on 500,000 6 months ago. Now,
only 500,000. That's not good. You got to work on that.
Now we can say that because we've sort of earned that right to, but it's crazy. We never fathomed this level of success so quickly. But
you never do, really. You don't plan for it, do you? Because I think all of us are very, like, I think a lot of business people, you're very modest at the end of the day. Most business owners are very modest. So I think when you hit those targets, you never wanted to admit to yourself that you've done it. So when you do, you're like, I really need to be like, damn, I've done really well, but actually I don't want to do that, because now I want to aim higher than that and do the same thing again and rinse and repeat. Me and Nick have got a great vision board for our business, and we've got huge growth over the next 5 years. That's what we're looking for. I've already said this year, and I keep repeating it to Nick, 2024 is going to be our year. Like, that's going to be the year we're going to escalate and drive things forward to make this so successful. But even people would be watching the podcast now and being like, you're doing great. But in our eyes, we're like, you just want more. You're just hungry all the time.
I really believe in the whole manifestation piece. And it first started for me, I worked for a company called Lead Forensics, and the CEO there was massive on goals and manifestation, etc. So I started writing down the top 10 things I wanted to achieve every single day in a book for the whole year. And number one on that was finish top salesman in 2015 for own business. And I didn't start doing it from the start of the year. I started doing it about halfway through, to be honest with you. I did it for about 6 months, and guess what? I hit it.
Hey,
nice. I hit it. I got a Rolex for it.
Where's my Rolex?
I mean, it's cool, man. You got to get the top salesman, man.
Got my name on the leaderboard, which no one can ever take away from me. Which is that was the earliest, biggest success I had, and now we're at. Obviously, we are where we are with Zappie. Every single day, Jamie and I have a chat about the target of 2 million every day.
So what? Okay, so this is a bit of a personal question, but what drives you to want to keep pushing these goals and get these achievements? Is it something that you lacked in the past that you're trying to overcome, or is it something else?
It's now become the addictiveness of achieving things on a daily basis. Every single day that goes by, it's like I can't put it down. I do feel sorry for my wife in a way, because I'll even like get home at night and I'll just be on the laptop doing things, or Jamie will be prompting me that can we do something, and I'll just, rather than wait till the next day, it's done now.
Yeah.
I'd rather just clear that off my desk and have it done immediately. So it's just been the buzz and the chase day in, day out is what's excited me. There's some personal things I want to achieve. I've got an idea of a property portfolio in mind I'd like to have done by the age of 40, which again was in my manifestation goals. I wrote down I want to have 5 properties by the age of 40. So I haven't got long left now. I've got 7 years. So
33?
Yeah.
When's your birthday? What month?
Well, I'm going to be 33 in February, but I'm already thinking of myself as 33.
We're both 32 now?
Yeah. When's your birthday?
I'm June.
June?
Next June,
not far off then, yeah.
I'm such a young gun here, aren't I? I really am.
You must 22?
24. 22? Oh, God damn it. I'll take it. It means age is on my side.
I thought you were 25.
25 of Jan.
Yeah.
So I've got my quarter life crisis, which I'm already I've realised I'm having my quarter life crisis. I went to the dentist yesterday. That's the start of it. I'm counting that as a quarter life crisis. I'm getting a tattoo today.
Are you really?
Yeah.
What are you going to get?
I'm going to get, so it's a rose in commemoration of my nan. That's going to be on my forearm here. But I've
He's
said
going to come back with a skull in his face. Just like
my hand
Mike Tyson face
tattoo. But yeah, I think we all go through phases of life where a lot of people do, and it's good you've got a goal to have it by a certain age, but I think a lot of the time I've taken a lot of my goals and gone, okay, not necessarily an age goal, but more of like, I want this within this kind of period of time, within like 18 months or something is such a nice number. But as I say, I think we're all doing great, aren't we, really? Let's put it in perspective from where we were to where we are now. You know, you're doing great. We're all doing great.
Yeah,
I think
it's good to see you like flourishing with your PT business as well.
Yeah.
From where we started out, literally with me as your first client.
I know, that's a bad thing. Yeah, 100%. It just bewilders me.
vacant mum.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's 100% the target.
Yeah, we'll get one client in Pure Gym. Oh yeah, no, I mean, this is the thing as well. I'm now moving into a private studio. I know I've leveled things up. Nick's leveled things up on his side as well. And I always commend Nick for this. I've learned, you know what it's like having a business partner. It's useful that me and Nick have different skill sets that we bring to the business. And he's learned off me, I've learned off him, and we're just continuing to learn these little bits and pieces.
Well, I'll tell you something, like, obviously we're both 32, so we're both at a similar level in terms of age. However, you know, I've had other businesses in the past, but I've not seen the success that you've seen, because I'm sure, you know, when you're building up to that business that works, you go through failures. And it's only now that it's all kind of clicked, right? And now it's like, maybe I'm not making the kind of impact I want to do in my PT business because I'm trying to devote to something that we're growing now. But the vision with this is so much more clear and concise, and I can see things moving in the right direction. And so anyone that is obviously like in their early 30s, it's not the end of the world. You know, it's not, you're not over the hill, because that's what I felt when I hit 30. I was like, oh shit. When I was 20, I was going to be a millionaire by now in the yachts, like, you know, not girls everywhere.
Like
but
my mum had her first successful business, and she was, how old was she then? She must have been about 55.
Oh really?
So she had a fish and chip shop and cafe sort of business in West Bay in Dorset, which was turning over a very, very robust amounts of money on an annual basis. My dad was chief executive of a netting company called Gundry's, which made like aviation netting, which basically holds the nets in the bottom of the plane where the suitcases are to stop them from moving all around when the plane's landing and taking off and going
That's
through
a very
turbulence.
niche.
Yeah.
It's a very niche product, man.
That's great though.
But he actually got fired and set up on his own he must have been 50 odd at the time, set up Huck Nets, and that ended up becoming a £10 million turnover company.
Wow.
So it's never too late. Like, no matter how old you are, there's always something that you can do to prepare yourself forward. You just got to have the right mindset and belief that you can do it.
Michael, so
Apologies for interrupting the podcast today. Thank you so much for tuning in to You Know What. We really appreciate you listening, subscribing, liking and reviewing everything that we're doing. It's so nice to see so many of you interacting with our podcast as it grows. If you didn't already know, me and Nick have one of the fastest growing online coaching platforms on the planet, and we'd love to get you involved. We're looking for ambitious people looking to grow their careers and grow their experience in health and fitness. Me and Nick have over 10 years of working experience in the fitness industry, and we'd love to help you achieve the results that you've always wanted. Make sure to contact either Coach Dan King or Get Fit by Nick, or even just check the link in our bio to the podcast now. We'd love to hear from you.
you were top salesman 2015, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Never again though.
Okay. So
Stop writing it down in my book.
you got to sell us a net. Okay, you know Wolf of Wall Street. You got to sell us the pen.
Sell you the
You got to sell us a net.
Sell you a net.
We're not going to say what the net's for, but you just got to sell us a net.
Oh my
You gotta sell
god!
us a
No,
net.
put me on the spot now. Well, it all depends on what you're looking for. What would you need a net for? Like, what would the use of the net be?
That's a good question.
Fishing.
For fishing?
Yeah.
Well, we actually never did fishing netting, but it's pretty easy. Okay, so you're
I loved it.
proper putting me on the spot. How would I sell you a fishing net? I've never sold a fishing net before. I wouldn't know what the needs and requirements would be for that. Like when you're making a sale, it's really simple. With the basic fundamentals of it, it's always to ask questions around what might trigger a need for that product. So if we're looking on a telecom standpoint, like we work in different verticals that might be care. So care homes desperately have to have the need for their calls to be recorded, because we're working with obviously vulnerable people. So if there are calls over the phone about medication that might be needed from friends, family, or their nearest and dearest, all of this stuff needs to be noted down. So finding a need for a fishing net, you guys certainly have no need for it,
I've
right?
got a question for that though, because you came on as a PT client. So technically, I sold to a top salesman.
Does that mean you're a top salesman?
Does that make me a top salesman
Well,
now?
salesmen are the easiest people to sell to.
It's true, because
I've heard this. I've heard this. Yeah.
Like me and Nick, in terms of like coaching programs, and we've had people sell to us because you know what people are doing, you know exactly what they're trying to get you to the end point of.
Yeah.
But you already kind of sold before they come to you, just based on like, if they're a good salesman, they'll sell with their personality.
I had a salesman once say to me, like I was trying to get him in as a PT client, my first like second or third year in business, and he just said, "Look, mate, I'm gonna pay for concessions. Just let me know how much." And I was like, "Oh, cool, done."
There we go, easy as that. Sometimes I
they got a
just
need.
let people go through their sales pitch just because I want to see how they handle it and see what they say. Like if I was to chuck like a little bit of a rebuttal or an objection to why I don't want the product, like what they might say to bring me back.
You just play games with them.
Well, then you can learn, like, because they might say something like different, which then you can use again.
Well, I need to think about it. It's normally
I hate that
normally the
one.
major
That
one. I
annoys
don't know.
me.
That's the one I always hear.
I get
Yeah,
that.
that's that old chestnut.
Is that what do you need to think about?
So I need to go talk to my mum. What? Why do you need to talk to your mum? You're here now. You've made the
Does your
decision.
mum make decisions for you?
Exactly. Well, just at that point, I'd be like, "Yep, that's fine. You go think about it. I'm just going to go and make a few quick phone calls back into work. I'll be back in 2 minutes after you thought about it."
2 minutes. I don't like it.
Do you actually make phone calls?
No.
No. I like that one though. But I find it fascinating when we talk about different job roles as well. Like, we've all come from different backgrounds. I mean, technically I worked in telecoms for a little bit.
Did
I
you
was
really?
a telecoms engineer.
No way.
So I
Go
ran
after it.
cables
Telecoms
in.
engineer, that
Did you
sounds
know?
like
I never told you about this.
That sounds
It's on
like
my
you need
CV.
certifications for that
Wow.
stuff.
So I worked in Epsom, and I worked on like schools and basically running like fibre cables and Ethernet cables through the whole of the building. And I was 16 doing this job. Do you want to guess how much I got paid?
It was an apprenticeship scheme, I imagine, so probably less than £1,000 a month.
£3.70 an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I earned over the course of the summer because I did a whole 6 weeks. Yeah, great job. It's one that I always look at my CV and go, do you think anyone actually looks at that and goes, that's a brilliant, Dan, well done, good job, you were a telecoms engineer. Yeah, strange job I thought to throw out there.
Once you become qualified and you're out doing it professionally, then the wages can be much better. Like we've got a contracted engineer that works for us who does very well for himself from working ad hoc for different firms.
Maybe I'll go back into it then. Maybe it'll be a later date for me.
Cables by day, PT by evening.
God, could you imagine?
There you go.
I've got gaps in the day, it's alright, I can do some cable work.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't have time for that.
Well, yeah, carry on. I don't know. So I don't talk for a second there. I actually did, when I went to Australia for a year, I wanted to get sponsored for another year. So you had to do like farm work or sales work. And I did a sales job. And I was trying to sell magazine ad space.
Oof, tough sell.
Oh,
yeah.
man. I'm calling up the phone like, hello, you've got this neighborhood magazine ad space, and the guy's like, fuck off, Pom, get off the phone, and he just hangs up on me. I'm like, and that happens every fucking call, 100 calls a day, and I'm just like, this is horrible, man.
Well, it was the same sentence, fuck off, Pom, every time, because they were like, you're a Brit.
The general
we're gonna
theme
just
was,
slate you.
oh, you're British, fuck off.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear you. Just get off my. So
Enjoy
I started
your
making an
gap.
Australian accent. I started going, hello, this is Nick from the magazine ad space. Got some space here for you, mate. We got premium, we got the small section, da da da
I
da.
love
get
when you
on?
remember this
Huh?
now.
How did you get on with it?
Shit.
Oh, really?
Came back home. Anyway, it was terrible, man. Was not good. I've never been a. Well, I know you can be a born salesman, you can learn it, but I've never been natural at it. It's always been difficult for me. But
There's always, you can learn it for sure. Like you you need to have personality. Like if you can't build rapport with someone or have the confidence to spark a good conversation, then you're going to massively struggle. But as long as you've got a little bit of spark and you can follow a process, then you're away. You need to have the attitude to learn every day. So the top salesman for our company, Ray, is phenomenal, and he is the one who asks the most questions. Even to this day, he's been doing it for many years. He will not stop learning, and that is his mantra, and that's why he earns a very, very good amount of money.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were saying about like people are born salesmen. So another weird job I had was a promoter. And you learn, what I learned from that, which was my amazing boss, Luke Betts on here, shout out to you if you ever watched the podcast, who, fun fact, ties into James Smith quite well. If you know the old James Smith calorie deficit guy.
Yes.
He is his manager.
Oh, wow.
So he now...
I've connected with him on LinkedIn, actually.
Probably. But yeah, Luke taught me everything about sales, and he taught about the process of businesses and how business run. I will say he had a very unorthodox mantra to running businesses, but it worked for him because everyone respected him, and that's the same thing if you're a leader in a role, or same for us when we're running PT, same for yourself. Being a leader in a role, we're here to guide people to that end result at the end of the day. And the same thing, I think, in a sales point of view, you're guiding people to the end of the sale. So you're just taking them process by process. And I find it interesting that basically sales is, you can pretty much put it in any circumstances. Sales is so useful. Like we speak about marketing. Marketing is a big area that anyone can go into. I chatted to someone on the weekend and I was like, what's your job? And they went, marketing. I went, right.
What's that?
Yeah.
What do you market?
It's pretty diverse.
Turns out they worked for Avon.
Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, mate.
Isn't that that's an insult in Scotland, right? They say your dad sells Avon.
Yeah, your dad sells Avon. That's
I remember being a kid and like helping my mum out and like delivering the Avon papers everywhere. Oh my God, man, it was the worst. It's the worst.
Yeah,
it's really not very fruitful. But we have this question in the past in one of our podcasts, and it's like book smart versus social smart. You can only choose one. What would you choose?
Social smart.
Boom. I knew you'd say that.
It's a hack right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Social smart. I think a lot of people go into it, but it is the same thing. It's not about what you know, it's who you know, and it's how you interact with those people to get you to where you need to be, and building networks and rapports over time. I said this to Nick earlier, I've got PT training day in London tomorrow for Hammerson PLC. Wow. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah.
So they're the guys that did Westkey, and they basically, because I know one of the people that work there, they invited me along and like, oh, can you come PT for the whole day? And I never thought in a million years I'd get an opportunity like this. But for me and Nick, that could be game changing for our business, because as soon as I got foot in the door with something like that, and I do a good job, then you're like, oh, come back again.
Yeah, exactly.
So do a good job then.
No pressure.
Don't mess up.
I'm so scared.
Well, my attitude to education is that if you're going to go to university, I would only go if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something where you have to have that qualification to get through. Like, there are so many kids, even myself, one of them, that go to university just for the experience. Now, okay, there's positives and negatives to it. The positive from me doing that, as I moved to a bigger city, which created an opportunity for me to go into telecoms, and now here we are, granted, but that's because I grew up in a small town. Now, there is so much more fabric going into starting a business or starting a career early doors off the get-go, rather than getting yourself in thousands of pounds worth of debt, which effectively is going into, you're basically a product of a business when you join a university, because they're run like companies. Everything's run off of student loans, which pays for it, which you have to pay back.
Yeah, I feel that at the minute. Yeah. That's what I'm struggling with. And actually, you saying that, one of the big things that I look back on, like the experience at uni and the people I met, I say this all the time, I do not regret doing that. But now looking on where I am now, if I'm totally honest, me having a degree has not changed how I've run my business. Everything I've done in my business is from stuff I already knew. Like it's just my own learning. So I've learned more by myself than I learned paying 60k towards uni, which I'm now having to pay back, which is a massive hole in my, it's a big hole in your spending, and you're always thinking about this. And I wouldn't never say someone don't go to uni. If you really want to go to uni, go. But I think there's so much pressure on people now that you go for the GCSE system, you go for the A level or BTEC, and then you're immediately into uni. And if you don't go to uni, you suck. Basically, it's like people's headspace with it.
That's the worst about it, mate. Like, uni is good for those that have a genuine desire to have a profession which needs that degree.
Goals and plans, right?
Yeah. Or if you have, or you've got absolutely no idea whatsoever, and you just need more time, then maybe not a uni degree, but just do something that gets you that bit more time. That's fine. But actual uni for the sake of it and partying, it's such a waste. Such a waste of money.
I think parents are... Their mindset is that you go to school, get a good education, go to college, do the same, and then you go to university, and then all of a sudden you're going to be out into the world with all of these opportunities because you have a degree, which then when it comes down to it, when we're interviewing, we have zero interest whatsoever if people have a degree on their CV. It's just about what they like as a person, what's their background if they're coming into a more experienced or senior role, and are they going to integrate with the team well? If they tick those boxes and they seem motivated, that's a winner for us over anyone who has a degree.
It's when they start putting those little letters by their name, BSc, BA. Oh, mate, come on. You can only do it when you're a doctor, okay?
Don't know what you're on about there. No, I don't do that.
Oh, is that on your emails, is it?
It's on my Instagram. I changed that over because I had a client come in and was like, why don't you talk about your degree more? And I was like, that's a great idea. And now I'm thinking about it.
You paid a lot for those numbers, so you might as well... letters, sorry. You might as well...
I did think about this. I was like, I'm just going to stick them in there. And like, if I get more clients from it, great. But, people don't look at me as a PT. People look at the products you deliver. So it's the transformations I get. It's the content I deliver. It's what we speak about as the personality you show and compassion towards other people with problems. And I think, so this is what I mean. Like, so many people get divulged into the education sector and reading academic journals and knowing the constant up-to-date literature. But it's not that. Like, I've built a business solely off personality.
Correct. And
so
I've got a great point leading on to that. So I've been with the same barber now for 7 years, and the reason why I always go back to him is the haircut's good. Well, he's good, but are there people out there or barbers out there which are just as good, or if not better? There could be. But what makes me go back every single time is the personality and the bond that you built with that person, the trust over time. Nothing can beat that in business. If you have that, then it's ironclad with that relationship, unless you do something massive to screw it up.
100% agree. Exactly the same. I haven't changed my hairdresser for like 7 years. Yeah.
I have, because I've moved, but we won't talk about that one. I started at Menu, and then I moved to Crown's Barbers. Shout out to you, Dan, for cutting my hair. Yeah, I got a guy called Dan because I'm that egotistical these days.
Is that? No, it's not.
Dan McGurn.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Dans that cut hair.
There was a lot of Dans that cut hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like it's crazy because, as you say, personality sells, and again, it's such an interesting conversation we might with everything there. And I mean, we were focusing on the point of focus there, and obviously building up your businesses, but we've gone in some really good
lost focus.
We did. We lost focus in a focus podcast.
This is how you lose focus.
But I think you need these moments, and I want to bring this point in there that when you start to go off track, there's a reason that your mind wanders, and this is a little bit of sciencey from me. Your mind wanders because it wants to wander. When you start to restrict the wander, that's when you get more stressed, and when you get more stressed, you lose even more focus later down the line. So having periods when you're trying to focus, of allowing your brain to wander and allowing yourself to go down these kind of little avenues that don't really mean much are so important. And you have to bear that in mind for everyone that you talk to and everyone you communicate with, that you need to wander. Have some time to just clock off and zone out, because your body wants to zone out, and we all do it naturally because it needs to reset itself. So if you ever find yourself wandering, just let it happen for a period of time. That's why meditation works so well.
That is focus is probably my biggest challenge, to be honest. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 7. So it started me off on Ritalin when I was then, and it had such a horrible effect on me that I basically told my mum at the time, I wanted to come off it. And she took me off it straight away from weaning me down, as you're supposed to on the doses, and never have been on anything since. And it's only now, since starting the business, even Jamie suffers with it slightly in different areas, not probably as severe as myself, but he said he definitely notices that he does lack in attention, which is obviously one of the parts of it.
Do you know what I've heard about ADHD though? Like, it is obviously really hard to focus with an ADHD. However, when you do find something that you're passionate about, you can actually hyper-focus.
Correct. Yeah,
which is almost a superpower in some way.
Correct, which is exactly why me and Jamie are just militant with it, and I'm certain he's got it from his hyper-focus, because he's worse than me. He'll be up working till 1, 2 a.m. and then be back up at 5, 6 going again. It's crazy.
Yeah, because I've never been diagnosed with it, but I'm 100% sure I've got some level of ADHD.
Do you think most entrepreneurs and business owners have a form of ADHD then? If we're talking about an average across the board, because there's so many people I talk to, and the way we resonate is having these similar things, these similar traits, which all circle back to ADHD. Not ADHD as a whole, but strands off it, if that makes sense.
I think about that. I think entrepreneurs, like, they're driven by the vision. That's the main thing, right? And so the vision it's not necessarily like a concrete, this is what you have to do to achieve it. There's a lot of variables to, like, you have to run a team, you have to sell the product, you have to market the product, you have to build the product. There's so much to it that you have to have a brain that can move between everything.
There's so many moving parts. You're spinning plates constantly. So the key to it is building a team which you can trust to run that department and follow the processes. As if they have processes to follow and they're not being followed, then obviously they're in the shit, and then you need to ask why they're not doing it and get back on track. But yeah, the focusing of trying to focus on many things at once is a challenge. Like, there's no doubt about that, but you just need to manage it in the best way possible. Other people have done it. There are people out there running billion-pound companies which manage to do it, so we can do it. Just need to have that attitude.
I love it.
Well, mate, I absolutely love the fact that you come on, Michael, and gave everyone listening to this obviously this information, because this is going to help them make their own £1 million businesses in the next 12 months.
It's been a pleasure.
And don't forget to good sleep, training, diet, all that stuff. But obviously, this is the main thing that we're looking forward to today. So thanks for coming on, man.
No, thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see you too. All right, I'm going to wrap this up now. You're going to have to bear with me as usual. Thank you very much for watching the podcast today. We really appreciate you guys watching it. Now, if you want any communications help from telecoms, where can they find you, out of curiosity, to plug your business?
www.zappie.io.
There you go. If you need any telecoms help, then we've also put Mike in here so he can help you guys out. Hopefully we get Jamie on here as well.
Yeah,
that'll be the goal. But thank you guys for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure to review the podcast if you're listening on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe. Give us a like. Give us a comment if you're on YouTube. We really appreciate all the feedback as always. You guys are amazing, and we're loving seeing the audience build. We will catch you guys later.